2,000 years later, the world is covered in ice and snow, and humans have been absent for a while. An alien spacecraft flies around Manhattan, colonizing the planet. After moving David's helicopter, they discovered him and Teddy on the ice. After being quickly reactivated, David experiences convulsions before noticing the blue fairy in front of him.
This sci-fi movie gonna blow your mind. Let's watch.
Global warming threatens to raise sea levels and destroy coastal cities worldwide. To combat overpopulation and global famine caused by climate change, governments have implemented pregnancy licensing programs. Scientists have developed mecha robots that require fewer resources to survive than humans. Professor Hobby, the inventor of these mechas, disassembles a female mecha during a conference. He explains that robots are programmed to react to damage or pain and avoid the source of the damage, similar to how humans do. Hobby's next step involves programming a robot child to love its parents, but this does not replicate human emotions. This mechanism will target couples who want to have a child, but lack the necessary license to do so. 20 months after the presentation, Henry and his wife Monica visit their son Martin in the hospital. Martin was diagnosed with a rare disease and placed in suspended animation until a cure is discovered. Martin's doctor is concerned about Monica, who continues to read to his son and seeks a cure. He advises Henry to assist Monica in dealing with her current grief. Henry, hoping to help his wife move on, applies to Cybertronics' beta testing and is chosen by Hobby to test his latest invention, a child mecha named David. This robot is a prototype mecha child designed to feel love. Monica is offended and accuses Henry of attempting to replace Martin, who is still alive. Monica realizes she needs to fill a hole in her heart by caring for a child, even if it is a mecha. After convincing Monica, Henry explains how the imprinting protocol works. If they choose to keep David, they can activate his imprinting, which will make him loyal to them like any other child who loves their parents. The imprinting is permanent, so if the couple decides to return David, he will be scrapped. Later in the evening, Monica and Henry let David enter Martin's old room. David wants to please his parents, but Monica is wary of him and refuses to dress him when he requests it. The next morning, David observes Monica preparing breakfast with curiosity. Despite Monica's efforts to ignore him, he continues to observe her during her daily tasks. Monica eventually confines David to the closet due to her frustration. Monica feels guilty and excuses herself by saying they were playing hide and seek. David unexpectedly finds Monica in the bathroom while she is relieving herself, mistaking her for hiding. During dinner, David is fascinated by his parents' eating habits. He mimics Henry by drinking from an empty glass, and Monica by eating pasta. When Monica gets noodles stuck in her lips, David laughs, causing his parents to laugh as well. Monica treats David as if he were her biological son, as she prepares him for bed later in the evening. However, this reminds her of Martin in the hospital, causing her to cry. Monica initiates the imprinting protocol after accepting David's role in managing Martin's situation. When Monica finishes saying the code that triggers David's love, the boy softens and calls her mommy for the first time. Monica feels more attached to him, especially after he hugs her. Monica is excited to attend an event with Henry. Henry worries about Monica's feelings for David, reminding her that he is a mecha. However, Monica views David as a gift. When David comes to say goodbye, the parents notice that he has used Monica's expensive perfume. To make matters worse, David asks Monica if she will die someday. Monica gives David an old robotic bear named Teddy, previously owned by Martin, to keep him company while they are away. One day, Monica receives an important call, and she receives some important news. Monica returns home a few days later, accompanied by Martin, who has recovered from his rare disease. Martin treats David as if he were a toy, asking him to break things and questioning his origins. When asked about the first thing he remembers, David draws a bird with feathers sticking out of its tail. Martin asks Monica to read Pinocchio to him and David, with the intention of taunting David. David is intrigued by the concept of a puppet transforming into a real boy. During lunch, Martin challenges David to an eating contest. Monica and Henry are concerned that the act will break David. but the boys ignore their warnings and continue to eat. David eventually comes to a halt as one side of his face droops, alarming everyone. David is taken for repairs, with Monica holding his hand. However, hearing him say it doesn't hurt freaks her out. Martin is jealous of his mother's concern for David, so when they return home, he tricks David into cutting Monica's hair while she sleeps, convincing him that she will love him for it. Martin manipulates David into agreeing, even though he initially refuses. David enters Monica's parents' bedroom to cut her hair with scissors. However, Monica turns and nearly gets hurt by the blades. Henry awakens to Monica's screams and confronts David, demanding to know why he did it. Monica intervenes. Teddy finds some fallen hair on the floor. Later, while preparing for Martin's birthday party, Henry attempts to persuade Monica that David is no longer worth the risk. Monica defends David, claiming he is a child making mistakes. During the party, Martin's friends mock David by poking his synthetic skin and using a knife to test his pain tolerance. David's defense programming causes him to hide behind Martin, who is the only person he feels safe around. He starts backing away, but moves too far and accidentally drags Martin to the bottom of the pool. Martin is quickly taken out of the water and given CPR by adults, leaving David alone in the pool. Monica is conflicted about her feelings towards David after an incident, but she also appreciates his letters to her. She finally decides to take David on a trip with Teddy, which makes David happy because he believes he is spending the day with his mother. Monica tears up as she drives to Cybertronics to destroy David. Overwhelmed by guilt, she abandons her plan and drives into the woods. David sets up a picnic mat without suspicion. Monica abruptly informs him that she must end their relationship. David, devastated, begs and apologizes for his actions. He wonders if becoming a real boy, like Pinocchio, will help him regain acceptance in his family. Monica refuses David's pleas and gives him money before leaving, warning him not to be caught by anyone, particularly Cybertronics. Monica surprises David by pushing him away after he becomes attached to her. She apologizes and drives away, leaving David to watch the car from a distance. In Rouge City, Joe, a mecha, provides emotional support to his client before spending the night with her as part of his job. After, Joe travels through town to meet his next client at a hotel. The owner requests Joe's operating license badge as an anti-robot group, Flesh Fair, searches for stray mechas in town. Joe then changes his hair color before heading to his client's room. When he sits on the bed, he discovers it's wet with blood and his client has died. Suddenly, a man enters the room and confesses to killing the woman. Joe realizes he's been set up and flees to an alley. He removes his operating license badge with a small blade to avoid detection. In the woods, David tells Teddy that he wants to find the blue fairy from Pinocchio so she can transform him into a real boy. A garbage truck dumps scrap parts, prompting abandoned mechas to search through the trash for repairs. As David struggles to believe what he sees, Joe appears, and a moon-shaped aircraft approaches him. The Flesh Fair group people searching for the damaged robots to destroy, prompting the robots to flee. This group kidnaps and destroys mechas as a demonstration of their anti-robot campaign. The aircraft uses a scan to track the mechas, while motorcycles chase them through the forest and into a small town. After firing magnetic discs at the robots, a few mechas are captured. David and Teddy follow a few mechas into an abandoned cottage and meet a nanny mecha who offers to care for them. Unfortunately, the motorists still find the cottage and break down the wall, capturing everyone while the aircraft picks up Joe in a cage. During the struggle, David attempts to hold on to Teddy but falls. Fortunately, a few branches break his fall, allowing him to recover quickly and pursue the aircraft. At the Flesh Fair show, employees collect Teddy and place him in the Lost and Found section. The stadium crowd cheers as old and abandoned mechas are destroyed by cannons and set on fire. David is terrified and grabs Joe's hand, who is taken aback by his touch. Teddy escapes from Lost and Found and discovers David in a cage. A young girl picks up Teddy and sees David, mistaking him for a boy. The girl approaches her father, one of the show's programmers, who is disturbed to learn that a boy is among the mechas. At the cage, David learns from the other mechas that humans are destroying them to maintain their superiority. The girl's father approaches David and uses a portable X-ray to confirm that he is a robot. The father is impressed by David's advanced system, But the showrunner is not amused. An argument ensues while David witnesses the nanny mecha being doused in acid during a game. The showrunner insists on including David on the show, despite the programmer's explanation of his importance. The showrunner takes David, who is holding Joe's hand for safety, and drags them both to the field and into the acid trap. During David's introduction to the audience, the showrunner expresses his displeasure with the mecha child's disrespect for humans. The audience becomes silent due to their unfamiliarity with the presence of children in the show, leading to a sense of conflict. David screams and cries in fear after acid falls on his shoulders. The crowd believes David is a real child and attacks the showrunner. The girl's father orders guards to release David and Joe just before the riot begins, allowing them to escape safely. Hobby's office displays childhood photos of David, who was inspired by Hobby's late son. A team reports that David was spotted at the Flesh Fair and assures Hobby that the mecha is fine. In the woods, David and Teddy freeze when they see the moon, mistaking it for the Flesh Fair's aircraft. In case they take a different route, David shares with Joe his desire to find the Blue Fairy. Joe suggests that most women can be found in Rouge City, and they decide to go there together. Joe uses a hologram pen to manipulate a group of teenagers, promising them a future filled with mecha women. After the boys give them a ride, Joe takes David on a tour of the city, explaining the flashing lights and oddly shaped buildings. David is drawn to a statue of an angel, mistaking it for the Blue Fairy. He attempts to enter the church, but Joe stops him. They eventually encounter Dr. No, a program that functions as a comprehensive encyclopedia. David uses the money Monica gave him to learn. Hobby's quote suggests that the Blue Fairy is at the end of the world. Joe explains to David that humans dislike robots, citing the fact that mechas that travel to the end of the world never return. David believes Monica will love him if he is a real boy, despite Joe's claim that a human can never love a mecha. He yells at Joe for implying the opposite. When they leave No's store, cops find them and arrest Joe, who is still suspected of killing the woman in the hotel. David attempts to pilot the helicopter but loses control, causing chaos and near misses throughout the city. As citizens flee in fear, Joe uses the distraction to escape the cops and reunite with David. Joe takes control of the helicopter, ensuring a smooth and safe escape. After a few hours, they arrive at the wasteland of Manhattan, which Joe refers to as the place where lions weep. Rising sea levels have destroyed the city, leaving it in ruins and underwater. David discovers lion statues with water pouring from their mouths, which reminds him of Joe's quote. After recognizing the sign, David and Joe land the helicopter near the lions and search for Professor Hobby. David finds a door with a quote from a fairy tale and crosses it to find a chair with someone sitting on it. When David turns around, he is surprised to see a child who looks exactly like him. The other David smiles and invites him to read with him, claiming to be genuine. However, the first David fears he will be replaced. David becomes enraged and smashes a lamp against the table and another David's head, revealing it to be a mecha as well. Joe flees in terror, while David screams about his specialness and uniqueness. Professor Hobby intervenes to stop David and reassures him that he is a real boy, claiming to be his own Blue Fairy. The journey tested David's motivation to pursue an unknown dream, which other mechas could not do. Hobby leaves the office to gather his team, leaving David to reflect on how his journey was predetermined by others. After entering another room, David discovers several mechas that resemble him, including one that remains open. As he approaches a window, he recognizes the bird from his first memory, which is now a statue outside the office. David and his female counterpart are mass-produced for sale, with multiple boxes laid out. David realizes he is not unique and dives into the water while Joe watches from a helicopter. David is carried underwater by a group of fish until he comes across something that piques his interest. David reaches out, but Joe catches him and pulls him away with the helicopter's extended arm. After emerging, David discovers the Blue Fairy underwater. Joe is drawn to a police helicopter hovering above them, preventing them from continuing their journey. Joe asks David to share his story with the ladies when he is older. He activates the helicopter's submarine mode and floats away. To find the Blue Fairy, David pilots the transformed helicopter into an abandoned carnival with Teddy by his side. After exploring the fairy tale themed attractions, they come across Pinocchio, who leads them to the blue fairy statue. Despite not receiving a response from the fairy, David remains trapped for years, never giving up hope even as the lights fade. 2,000 years later, the world is covered in ice and snow, and humans have been absent for a while. An alien spacecraft flies around Manhattan, colonizing the planet. After moving David's helicopter, they discovered him and Teddy on the ice. After being quickly reactivated, David experiences convulsions before noticing the blue fairy in front of him. The protagonist exits the helicopter and approaches the frozen statue, attracting the attention of the alien creatures. He then touches the blue fairy, causing it to crack and break. The aliens scan David's memory to better understand the planet, and he unexpectedly finds himself at Monica's table. David searches for Monica in his familiar home, but receives a response from a different voice. David requests that the blue fairy transform him into a boy, but she declines. The aliens use the blue fairy to communicate with David, informing him that Monica is no longer alive and that the fairy cannot revive her because her remains are also long gone. Teddy approaches David and reminds him of the time he cut Monica's hair, revealing that he kept the same lock of hair, implying that the aliens could now bring back his mother. David visits his old bedroom and remembers his friend Joe, while Teddy repairs himself. When they see a figure at the door, they mistake it for Monica. However, it's an alien who admits to being fascinated by humans. The aliens have been trying to recover humanity by cloning organic traces, but his attempts have been unsuccessful due to the clones' short lifespans. This will also happen if Monica is brought back. David hopes Monica will be special and last forever, as he did while trapped in the helicopter, so he goes looking for her. He finds her in her bedroom, where she is crying and brushing her hair away from her face. Monica wakes up and greets David with a smile. For one day, David and Monica can spend time together. David enjoys showing Monica paintings of his journey, playing hide and seek, and celebrating his birthday. When the lights outside dim, David tucks Monica into bed, fearing she will not wake up. When Monica expresses her love for David, he smiles with both grief and joy. He sleeps next to her, fulfilling his dreams for the first time in his life. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.